Hello, BB. Guys, nobody saw this coming. Kentucky football. Could this be Stoops' worst loss yet? Not even Pope in basketball could have imagined this. Let's get into the news. But first, if you want more updates, hit the subscribe button on our channel. The fans, always passionate. We're ready for an electrifying game against the South Carolina Gamecocks. A matchup that promised to be a fresh chapter. However, what unfolded on the field was a scenario few could have predicted, and that might well mark one of the most challenging moments in Coach Mark Stoops' tenure with the team. The game that followed was a grueling test for the Wildcats, who ended up not only defeated, but dominated with a score of 31-6. This loss was not just a negative result on the scoreboard. It was a heavy blow to the spirit of a team that entered the field hoping to affirm their skill and passion for the game. The performance was so below expectations that it raised an uncomfortable and inevitable question among fans and analysts alike. Are we witnessing the worst defeat of the Mark Stoops era? This question doesn't come from nowhere, but from a series of matchups that, over the years, have tested the resilience and strategy of Kentucky under Stoops' leadership. Compared to previous setbacks, like the surprising home defeat to Vanderbilt in 2022 or the unexpected stumble against Southern Miss in 2016, the loss to South Carolina highlights concerns about the team's consistency, especially on offense, which seemed to dim just when it was most expected to shine. The Wildcats now face an even greater challenge. The next game against the country's #1 team, Georgia, also in Lexington. This match presents not just as a sporting contest, but as a true test of character and resilience. The question now is whether the Wildcats can, against all odds, surprise and reverse the tide of mistrust now surrounding them. Can they rise from this blow and deliver a performance worthy of their history and their passionate fanbase? While defeat is hard and criticism inevitable, sports are made of moments like this, moments that test the mettle and fervor of a team. The response to this adversity will define the contours of the season and possibly the very era of Mark Stoops at Kentucky. It's up to the Wildcats to show that the fighting spirit and skills that characterize their better days are still alive under the ashes of a disheartening game. The fans, in turn, are eagerly awaiting the response that will come on the field, where every play counts and every game is a new chance for redemption. The question of whether this is the worst defeat of the Stoops era. What do you think? At the end of the video, you tell me. Following the painful 31-6 defeat against the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Kentucky Wildcats are facing a storm of criticism and disillusionment, raising questions about the direction of the season. But there are some points to analyze. The abrupt drop in performance has cast doubts on the team and its ability to recover, especially with an upcoming game against the country's #1, Georgia. Let's review who stood out, even amidst this disastrous performance, and who sank even deeper on an afternoon Kentucky fans would rather forget. Fans who stayed till the end. For those who endured until the final whistle, utmost respect. Watching such a defeat wasn't easy, but the loyalty of the fans who remained in the stadium is a testament to the passion and dedication of the Wildcats fanbase. These fans displayed resilience even when the team did not, and that's something the Kentucky community will always cherish. In a game where the team's energy seemed missing, the fans who stayed till the end were the true symbol of endurance. Kentucky's running attack. While the afternoon was filled with failures and disappointments, Kentucky's running game was a bright spot. Demai Sumo Karngbae, Jason Patterson, and backup quarterback Gavin Wimsatt showed some spark on a gloomy day. Karngbae, with his 70 yards on 17 carries, led the ground attack, followed by Patterson and Wimsatt, who together racked up 159 of the team's total 183 yards. Though not enough to alter the game's outcome, it indicates that the running game, if well managed, could be a valuable weapon in upcoming matches. Offensive downer, Except for the running backs, this was one of Kentucky's worst offensive performances in recent memory. The passing game was virtually non-existent, and the starting quarterback failed to effectively command the offense. The wide receivers appeared invisible, unable to make any impact on the game, while the offensive line was consistently outmatched by South Carolina's defensive line. Furthermore, mental errors, such as holding penalties that nullified key plays, only added to the frustration. Overall, the offense showed neither energy nor precision, and without immediate correction, the rest of the season could be even more challenging. Defense on 3rd and long. The third down problem continues to haunt Kentucky. Even in 3rd and long situations, the defense failed to stop South Carolina, allowing drives to extend and keeping the opposing offense on the field longer than necessary. This recurring failure in critical situations is something that Coach Mark Stoops and the defensive coordinator need to address immediately, especially with an opponent like Georgia on the horizon. Coaching. Perhaps the most critical point of the afternoon was the lack of preparation and adjustments in coaching. Not having the team ready for a game like this, especially at home, against an opponent that had been a thorn in the side in recent years, is unacceptable. From questionable decisions like attempting to convert a 4th and 1 on their own territory to ineffectiveness in managing the clock at the end of the first half, the coaching staff failed to give the team a fighting chance. Moreover, abandoning the ground attack at critical moments raised even more questions about the tactical choices made during the match. With this 3rd consecutive loss to South Carolina, the confidence of the Kentucky Wildcats fans in the immediate future of the team is shaken. The season schedule doesn't get any easier, and the upcoming game against Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, seems like an almost insurmountable challenge at this point. However, what remains for the Wildcats is to try to learn from the mistakes of this game and find a way to bounce back. Coach Mark Stoops has faced adversity before, but never has it been so crucial for him to find quick and effective solutions to salvage a season hanging by a thread. There are things to improve. Switching to basketball now. Mark Pope has taken the helm of the Kentucky Wildcats, and expectations are high for his stewardship of the team. After an offseason full of changes, the men's basketball program is gearing up for a new phase with a refreshed roster and a different approach from previous seasons. Notably, Kentucky, long synonymous with top-tier recruits and NBA talent, is experiencing a transition to a more seasoned team, a shift not frequently seen in Lexington. The Bart Torvik analysis system ranked Kentucky's roster as the 41st most talented in college basketball, a position that may seem modest by the Wildcat standards but reflects the team's restructuring. With the inclusion of veteran players, including some in their 5th year of college basketball, Mark Pope is clearly aiming to implement a strategy based on experience and maturity on the court. This composition could bring a balance of aggressiveness and game intelligence that younger teams sometimes lack. It's interesting to note that while Kentucky has dropped in the talent rankings, Bart Torvik still projects a solid season for the Wildcats, rating them as the 23rd best team in terms of overall efficiency. This includes a 26th place in adjusted offensive efficiency and a 25th in adjusted defensive efficiency. These figures reveal that, despite the absence of high-profile stars or 5-star recruits we're used to seeing in Lexington, the team has the potential to be highly competitive. The projected record of 20-11 might not dazzle all members of the Big Blue Nation, but considering the circumstances and the revamped roster, it's a fair expectation. The experience of these veterans could be a key factor in helping Kentucky navigate the challenges of a highly competitive conference and heavyweight opponents. Recall that in past seasons, the Wildcats relied on young and promising talents, but they didn't always manage to translate the potential into consistency throughout the year. One of the season's major challenges will be the opening matchup against Duke, an opportunity to gauge the real level of this renewed squad. Facing one of the country's most talented teams, It will be a true test for Mark Pope's group. A strong performance, even in defeat, could boost the team's confidence and morale, while a victory would be a significant boost at the start of this new era. While the team may not have the same individual brilliance as in previous years, there's a strong sense that the accumulated experience could turn this squad into a surprising force. Mark Pope's leadership will be crucial in maximizing his players' potential, and he has previously demonstrated the ability to bring out the best in his athletes, especially under high pressure. Therefore, even with the team ranked only as the 41st most talented, there's an atmosphere of optimism in Lexington. The combination of experience, strategy, and the Pope factor could result in a season that, while perhaps not spectacular in numbers, will be full of competitive moments and possibly surprises. For the Big Blue Nation, patience and trust in the process will be key, as this first year of the Pope era may not just be a transition, but the beginning of something special. Let's go forward. It was a major recruiting battle for the Cats with Jasper Johnson involving three powerhouse college basketball programs: Kentucky, Alabama, and North Carolina. For weeks, the scene was rife with pure speculation across social media and forums, with each program being pegged as the favorite at different times. However, Johnson's decision appears to have been more complex and divided than many could have imagined. Johnson, a five-star point guard, revealed that choosing Kentucky was no easy feat and that he was utterly undecided for about a month on which direction to take. There was a lot involved in this, he explained in an interview with KSR after announcing his commitment to the Wildcats. Such hesitation is not uncommon for a player of his caliber, considering each of the three programs offers unique opportunities and advantages. Johnson mentioned that when trying to find concrete differences between them, he simply couldn't make a firm decision. It was a process that involved much reflection, prayer, and discussions with his family. Johnson's connection to Kentucky, however, seemed predestined. He is a Lexington native and was raised in nearby Versailles, meaning the Wildcats have always been part of his life. The history of Johnson's family with the university only strengthens this connection. His father and uncle played football for UK. His late grandfather played a significant role in the school's administration, and his mother is from the well-known Yeast family. These deep roots in the Kentucky community undoubtedly weighed heavily in Johnson's decision. The moment of Johnson's commitment ceremony only served to confirm what many had already suspected. The gym at Woodford County High School was adorned with banners from nil partners associated with the University of Kentucky, leaving little room for doubt about his choice. The connection with Kentucky was undeniable, but the process was not devoid of doubts until the end. Johnson's internal struggle between Kentucky, Alabama, and North Carolina was a reality for him, not just a game of expectations among fans. The interest from Alabama and North Carolina was also understandable. Johnson received his first Division I offer from Alabama, a program that has been increasingly making its mark in the college basketball scene. Meanwhile, North Carolina was a team Johnson had rooted for as a younger fan, creating an emotional bond with the program. Nonetheless, Kentucky's appeal ultimately prevailed, with Johnson admitting that in the end his heart was in Lexington. Johnson's decision follows a trend of highly rated Kentucky players opting to stay in-state. Recently, athletes like Reed Sheppard, Travis Perry, Trent Noah, and Malachi Moreno have also taken this path, keeping local talent within the state. Johnson joining this list reaffirms the Wildcats' magnetic pull on Kentucky natives. For coach Mark Pope, adding Johnson to the roster is a masterstroke. Johnson not only brings immense talent, but also an emotional connection to the program, something that could be crucial for maintaining team cohesion and identity in a season that promises to be full of challenges. Pope, who took over the program with a mission to sustain the Wildcats' tradition of success, gains in Johnson a dynamic and versatile point guard capable of powering the team on both ends of the court. For the Wildcats fans, The news that Johnson will don the blue and white is a sign that the future of the program is in good hands. Let's move forward. Malachi Moreno also shared his thoughts on Jasper Johnson's commitment. Johnson's decision to join his longtime friend, Malachi Moreno, creates huge excitement about what Coach Mark Pope is building in Lexington. With the #1 recruiting class for 2025 already secured, Pope is not just reshaping the team, but establishing a new era of excellence. Johnson himself emphasized how excited he is to join Moreno. Johnson's words highlight the respect and admiration he holds for his teammate. "I know how good he is and how much of a force he is down low," Johnson said, underscoring how crucial Moreno's presence will be for the Wildcats' success. This partnership between Johnson and Moreno is set to become one of the pillars of Mark Pope's offense. The coach, who has already proven his ability to develop talent and create dynamic game systems, must be eager to see how these two players will fit into his offensive strategy. The pick and roll between a point guard with Johnson's vision and skills and a dominant center like Moreno promises to be devastating for opponents. The synergy between them, which has already developed over the years on Kentucky courts, will now be tested on one of the biggest stages in college basketball. Pope deserves all the praise for his meticulous approach to recruiting. He hasn't just secured two of the best in-state talents. He's also created a culture where local players take pride in wearing the blue and white. Johnson mentioned how much it means to him as a Kentucky kid to represent the Wildcats and how it brings a sense of pride. This emotional connection to the program is invaluable, and Pope is clearly leveraging it to build a team with identity and commitment. Furthermore, the chemistry between Johnson and Moreno, both on and off the court, is already well established. They've competed together over the years, and Johnson was thrilled to see his friend commit to Kentucky. The loyalty and friendship between these two players could be a key factor in the team's success, fostering a unity that will be tough to beat. But Pope isn't stopping there. Johnson is already eyeing other pieces to add to the 2025 class, staying focused on elite recruits who can further elevate the program. Johnson joked that he has a few prospects in mind, though he kept their names a secret. This kind of attitude shows Johnson's commitment to helping build a strong future for the Wildcats, not just as a player, but also as a true ambassador for the team. Pope's relentless pursuit of new talent is admirable, and we're all behind him. What about you? Share your thoughts in the comments.